2,000 years ago, we got some good advice. Be not conformed to what? The world. Be transformed by what? Renewing of your mind. Okay. Which means I'm going to do what? Lift myself above the expectation, the fear, and the doubt that's around me. And I'm going to think from possibility. See? I have a lesson. I've been working on this for 2 or 3 weeks. I got the best lesson. I'm going to blow you away in 2 weeks. I'm not going to be here next week. I'm going to be in Monterey speaking at the Monterey Church next week, and Cynthia will be here for the second service. But in 2 weeks, I'm doing Think as if it's a fresh start. And I've got some wonderful things for you to work with, and I'm going to lay a foundation for that this morning. Dr. Holmes continues in what he's saying here. Only remember, we are surrounded by a universal subjectivity, a subjective creative consciousness which is receptive, neutral, impersonal, always receiving the impress of our thought, and which has no alternative other than to operate directly upon it, thus creating the things which we think. Not the things somebody else thinks. If you got it in your life, you thought it up, and if you don't want it there anymore, unthink it and think something else. It's that simple. But a lot of people don't want it to be simple. They would rather spend their time trying to figure out why they got a problem instead of being the consciousness of the answer. Okay. Go forward. Everybody say, yesterday's over. Can't do anything about it. I'm going to look for the beautiful, find it, and when I do, I have found myself. See, that's what you're looking for. I love this story. I think Penny sent it to me a while back. It's Sherlock Holmes goes camping. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson went on a camping trip. As they lay down for the night, Holmes asked, Watson, look up into the sky and tell me what you see. Watson said, I see millions and millions of stars. Holmes said, and what does that tell you? Watson, astronomically, it tells me there are millions of galaxies and potentially billions of planets. Theoretically, it tells me that God is great and that we are small and insignificant. Meteorologically, it tells me that we have a beautiful day tomorrow in store for us. And then he looked over at Sherlock and said, what does it tell you, Sherlock Holmes? And Holmes said, elementary, my dear Watson, it tells me that someone stole our tent. Ba-dum-bum. We had a wonderful time Friday night, did we not? Everybody thank Debbie and all the gang and everybody who put all that together. And yes, it was wonderful. Now, I helped prepare for Friday night by going to Costco. I did. I went to Costco, and I was instructed by my wife and co-pastor to get large plates. And so I go to Costco, and I find large plates. And when I looked at these large plates, I saw, this is great, a large plate. This will hold lots of food. We'll have a good time. This is wonderful. How wonderful this plate is. It's recyclable. It's all this great plate. So I buy a whole thing of plates, and I bring it here, and I walk into the social hall with it. And my wonderful, beautiful wife looked at it, and what she saw was the blue around the edge of the plate. I saw something to eat off of, and she saw it didn't match the decoration in here. It was the same plate. Anyhow. As a result, we put the plates I got away, and Jay had to go to Smart and Final and get a white plate without blue on the side of it. But one day we will have very nice blue plates to serve in and it'll be fine. So anyhow, So how many know that you can have a whole bunch of people look at the same thing and come away with different definitions of it? I've had people come up to me on Sunday morning and hug me and say, oh, thank you, this was so wonderful, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard, it saved my life. I've had people tell me they were planning suicide till they heard what they heard here that morning. And then I've had people leave and say, that's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard of my life. Okay. You people believe you're God. Yes, we do. No. Okay. And so what are you doing? How many understand that you always find what you're looking for? Okay. And I would recommend that when you come here, spend some time before you walk in the doors on Sunday or Wednesday or classes and say, okay, there's something wonderful about to happen. I appreciate what I know I am, and I know that anything and everything I need to hear this morning to apply to my life to improve it, so what? So that you're honoring what my dedication is, and my dedication is anybody who walks through these doors will hear something this morning that will allow them to walk out of here and have a better week than they would have if they hadn't come here. Not that it's doing anything to you, but it does what? It wakes you up to your own possibility. And then we encourage you to do what? To be that possibility in action, to move from just thinking about it to being it in action. This is a great challenge. Reverend Lacey sent me a wonderful story about the little boy who was sitting behind the door and the guy was about to come in and there was a German shepherd alongside of him. And the guy said, does your dog bite? And he said, no. So the guy goes in and the dog bites him. He said, I thought you said the dog didn't bite. So that's not my dog. Okay. I have a new alarm clock at home. It's a French bulldog. Has a tongue about this wide. I'm awake. All right. I went online yesterday and I was looking at French bulldogs and checking them out. They're really great. French bulldogs are wonderful. So I'm looking at all these French bulldog videos, and there one came up, and it was really interesting because it was a baby about 6 months old in a high chair, and there's a French bulldog, and the French bulldog's licking him, licking him, licking him, and when the French bulldog pulled back, the little boy went. It started licking the dog. Trained by a French bulldog. All right. Now, everybody say, I become the power of non-resistance. Now, why should you become the power of non-resistance? How many this morning are ready to stop resisting some kind of nonsense in your life and start paying attention to what you're for instead of what you're against? That's an interesting challenge, isn't it? Okay. Dr. Holmes says in his last lecture to Selamar, show me 1,000 people that are for something and against nothing, and we will change the world. But it's only going to happen one person at a time. I love what Ernest Holmes said when he pointed out nonviolence is the only thing that can't be violated, and non-resistance is the only thing that can't be resisted. Therefore, it's the most powerful thing in the universe.